I am your host, Doc Rotten, and this is Horror News Radio, the official Gruesome Magazine podcast. And back with me again this week are the scariest, goriest, bloodiest co-host on the net. And by that, I mean award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore. How you doing, sir?
Welcome to my alley of a nightmare, my friend.
Wow, I didn't know where you were going there for a hot second, but you ended up in a good place, I guess.
I always keep you guessing. That's the good part.
I guess. Back alley. All right.
You didn't have to explain anything. Just let it go.
We are going to review Nightmare Alley tonight from Guillermo del Toro, excuse me. And really excited about doing this because we are a fan of that gentleman's work.
Yep.
And this is it's gotten some award-worthy buzz, so eager to see it. It came out the same week as Spider-Man No Way Home, which may not have been the best idea.
Not really the best timing.
Mean, I get it. Counter-programming, but
during a pandemic, not so much.
But all right, so what we're going to do tonight is we're going to give our first impressions, and that will be spoiler-free, and then we'll dive into a discussion, which we'll get into spoilers. We'll keep them on the DL as much as possible, and then we'll wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score of 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. And of course, we appreciate you joining us. We hope you like this review and many others that we have on the site. And if you want to help us out, it's easy and free to do. Hit the subscribe button down below, hit the like button, share with a friend. It all does wonders and helps us greatly, and we appreciate it so very much. And of course, we want to hear your comments down below. And I guess one last thing we could say before we get into things is we're approaching the holidays of 2021 as we're recording this, so we wish you the merriest and happiest and safest of holidays. Whatever you celebrate and wherever you are, be safe, happy, and healthy.
Yeah, happy Die Hard Day.
Yes. Festivus for the rest of us.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've been slapping that. It's a Festivus miracle everywhere. All right, let's dive into our review. It is Nightmare Alley from Fox Searchlight. Available in theaters December 17, 2021. Synopsis is an ambitious carny with a talent for manipulating people with a few well-chosen words. Hooks up with a female psychiatrist who is even more dangerous than he is. Directed by Guillermo del Toro, written by Del Toro and Kim Morgan, based on the novel by Lindsay Gresham. The cast includes Bradley Cooper, Cate Blanchett, Toni, Collette, Willem, Dafoe, Richard Jenkins, Rooney, Mara, Ron Perlman, Mary Steenburgen, David Strathairn, Jim Beaver, Clifton Collins Jr., and Tim Blake Nelson. Quite a cast. We got to start that off, right? Quite the cast, quite the writing team, quite the director. Let's see how successful they are. Let's start off with Christopher G. Moore. Christopher, what was your first impression of Nightmare Alley?
Well, you know me, I'm always excited for any new Guillermo del Toro film. I mean, he's never made a bad film in my opinion. He just has a great eye for storytelling and taking us to places, that we can sort of like be blown away by the visuals or, with interesting characters and that kind of stuff. And I think I'm kind of conflicted about this one. I do like the film, but I don't feel like it's on the level of a lot of his other films. And I don't know if it's because he's trying to attempt that sort of film noir-ness of it, which you can sort of see in certain lighting things. There's always like these weird lights that just like fall on certain places, people's faces, or which they're planning on actually releasing a black and white version of this in limited theatrical release. And you have those type of characters you find in film noir, which I'm sure is dictated by the book that this is translated from. From what I understand, he never really saw the original film. So
Right, from 47, I believe.
yeah. So, but yeah, it's got an amazing cast, but this has been probably one of the few films I felt a little bit disconnected from, and I can't put my finger on it. But I don't know. I don't know if it's because, um, I mean, I did. I think I love the uh, uh, what is it? Rooney? Is that her name? Runa?
Rooney Mara.
Rooney Mara. Yeah, I did. I liked her character a lot because she played that sort of like, not really the girl next door, but she just played this really nice character in this horrible carny
The
environment.
innocent, yes.
Yeah, she played that innocent girl and I just liked her, and I, but I don't know. I guess because I couldn't relate to basically any character in this other than maybe her being sort of being pulled into this web of stuff. Um, and I think production design is off the charts. That I want to go to that like hell thing they created where you walk through with the eyes and stuff. I mean, I will say I feel like some of the production design would not have been as good back then.
No, it'd be a
I
little
don't, I
more
don't,
cheesy.
but I love some of that stuff, and even it's like the doctor's office. I mean, there's a courtyard. There's like a snowy courtyard. I mean, there's some really amazing places that we go to, and some really interesting, weird characters. Weird thing in a jar that almost seemed kind of out
Oh
of
man.
place to me. I don't know. It felt like it was from a different movie. And I think that's probably what I'm trying to think. There feels like a lot of disjointing things from different types of movies, and they don't kind of jive with each other. And as much as I loved a lot of the performances, I mean, I'm a huge fan of magic, and the how like some of these people do like cold reading of people, trying to so they can sort of make it mentalism through cold reading. I always found that very interesting because to me, it's like I'd be too nervous. I'm too nervous to do magic tricks in general because once I know how they're figured out, I feel like everybody else knows how they're done. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know about you, but I kind of like knew where it was going by the end of it. And I've never seen the original film. I've never read the book, but I kind of could sort of see where it was going. There wasn't anything that was hidden for me. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like the film felt as cold as the environments in the film for me.
Very
and
bleak.
I don't mind bleakness sometimes. Like I love things like Seven and stuff. I don't mind bleakness sometimes, but this one there wasn't really. I feel like in most, even if it has a dour ending, I feel like most Guillermo del Toro films have a little bit of heart somewhere in there. And for some reason, it felt a little bit missing. And I don't know. I guess it's good for him to try something different, but I don't know. I feel like in his sort of like him trying to zero in on creating something that's like film noir, it kind of misplaced him from his normal storytelling route. And
it's an interesting thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. For me, I was kind of I'm kind of. I mean, like I said, I don't hate it. I do like it. I love parts of it. There's some really really cool parts of it. And I love all the different actors and a lot of the different scenes and stuff. And there's some really cool things visually, but I'm kind of disappointed because I really went into this, because I've loved every one of his films. So this is one of the few films I was like, it's still good, but not as good as some of his other things.
Yeah, I feel very similar. Technically, this film is beautiful. The cinematography, the direction itself, the music, everything about it is really, really beautiful. The acting is superb, but I wasn't really drawn into the story. I wasn't really care. I didn't really care about Bradley Cooper's character or the situation he was in. It was mildly interesting, to see where his character was going, but I never really got a firm handle on while I was watching it of the conflict or the urgency of it. Right, it just didn't feel like it was. Where's this going? It's interesting to see him take this concept, during the 40s and this mentalism concept and use it. But it just didn't really connect with me. I do like the femme fatale part of the film noir. That's probably the highlight of it. Which Cate Blanchett, excuse me, is superb in this. She steals the movie, if you ask me. She's quite wonderful. The problem is I'm not really sure there's much chemistry between the characters, especially Bradley Cooper and either of the female leads. To me, heart might be the thing. Chemistry might be another way to put it. It felt lesser than it should have. But it's all in the story, right? It's all in the story and the characters, and it might be in the casting. I'm not convinced Bradley Cooper's was the right cast. That he was the right person to play this character. Because it's frustrating because he is good, but yet I'm not entirely certain he's in the same film as everybody else. Except maybe when Cate Blanchett's there. I don't know. I'm not really sold on that either, because there are times there, like you said, there's a few scenes that really stand out, that really make it wonderful to watch. Like the when Cate Blanchett first shows up in that, and when he's taking it on the road, right, taking the show on the road, is really interesting. How he handles that, and that's. Gosh, it's midway through the film, if not a little later. Anytime he's with Richard Jenkins, it's rather intimidating and frightening. And there's a couple things at the beginning that I like, but I don't know if the character got a chance to shine enough, in the beginning to really, it just really is. Toni Collette as Xena, wanted to see more of her. There's a couple of things that I think got. I don't know. I just don't know if it gelled for me. I just really didn't. I didn't get into it. So I was kind of like, it's 2.5 hour movie, so it feels it. I've seen a few 2.5 hour movies here in the last quarter of this year. And this one's the only one I really felt that 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm glad I saw it. It's really beautiful. And I think I'm really curious about what the black and white version looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I think visually it could be interesting, just because I could sort of see just in how they lit things, how that's going to, putting that black and white filter on it, how that's going to change it, maybe add some, make it more noirish as we sort of normally know it. I think for me, Bradley Cooper's character doesn't really talk a lot in the very beginning. And I don't know. I guess that maybe I'm also used to noirs, like people talking like blah, 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 blah. They're talking a mile a minute. And there are moments, I think we see that between him and the doctor in her office, where they're like going back and forth. And I was like, that's when I was like, this is the film noir stuff that I enjoy. And maybe it's just more, maybe it's more because I think Del Toro was trying to make noir more than just the normal things that we associate with it. And I think sometimes that can be a good thing, and sometimes it can be a bad thing.
I think to jump on that real quick, to have a character that doesn't really say a whole lot in the first 30 minutes, which is fine. I didn't really mind that. But you need something, an actor with a little bit more character in their face. Bradley Cooper might be like too handsome for the role. Then right? He didn't have the character. He didn't have it didn't emote what I think those first 30 minutes wanted to. I think later, once he transforms into, what he becomes, I think he's much more the character that, the actor could play. But I didn't buy him at first when he was, wandering around and not saying much.
Well, yeah, and I mean, he had like all these different, I guess these talents and stuff. Although we're already in
We're in
Spoilerville.
spoilers. Yes.
So like I know for some reason I didn't believe that they built that chair and spinning thing, that easily.
Yes.
It was like that was like, a really good production design, but again, for carnies, like where did you find all the stuff to make that? And you had to paint it, and then you had to set up with electricity. How did you know how the electricity works? So I don't know. For some reason I didn't believe that he created all that stuff. You know what I mean? And then he's drawing these little drawings, but I don't know. I feel like with him having that manipulative aspect of it and him being so quiet in the very beginning, it kind of threw me off to where later on when he was doing that and when he would when he's dealing with the millionaire guy and he's, doing his thing, or when he's trying to do the spook show stuff, you could sort of see that because you could see the gears in his mind as he's trying to like manipulate people, especially when they kind of explain some of the cold reading stuff,
Yeah,
some of the tricks of the trade. Which is actually that's a lot of mentalists used to have like certain things back in the day, like books of how to do this, do that. Certain, if you mention this, somebody will think this. So to me, some of the interesting aspects have more to do with the behind the scenes stuff, but I don't know. The movie walked this balance with trying to be very like, I guess, realistic. And I kind of, maybe I'm just missing more of the fantasy side of Del Toro.
I am too. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like when you have like a big sewed up baby in a jar, I'm like, that's Del Toro for me.
With an extra eye
in the middle of the head, which, they even do the end credits are just camera moving around it. I think they even they almost imply with camera work later that the thing's looking at him or whatever. But to me, it's like any of those movies where the magicians sort of reveal their trick, like when he tricks the sheriff guy,
Yes.
Things like that,
Played to his religious.
And I mean, some of those things I really liked, and I guess I'll have to say, I didn't really feel. I guess I similarly, I didn't feel the chemistry between him, or even though I loved Rooney's character, I think her character is amazing. I didn't really see his chemistry between her or even the femme fatale. And I mean, I think Bradley Cooper did a great job, but something seemed out of sorts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To where you're trying to pull off this film noir type movie, and there's those elements, but then there's elements that kind of take you out of it. So it walks like a fine line where it kind of trips a few places, and for me, it didn't pull it off as well as what I wanted it to. And then like that scene out in the snow, I just kept thinking of Crimson Peak. I just it felt very girl in white and blood and stuff. It just kept making me think, oh, that scene in Crimson Peak was better than that scene. So I don't know. There's just a lot of things that. I mean, this is not really a happy, because we're in Spoilerville. It's not really a happy-go-lucky ending at all.
No, it's not. It's not the.
Although by the end of it, you kind of know where it's going. It's pretty obvious, and maybe that's why Jeff Morris says don't watch the movie because it'll spoil.
Yeah.
Don't watch the original movie because it'll spoil the new movie.
Yeah. I am curious about watching the originals. I will say that.
I want to watch it now, but yeah.
Well, let's talk about one last thing before we head to our final thoughts. And there is a connection between this movie and the Hannibal TV show? Do you know what it is?
Well, I will say there's a scene between her and him when she's talking. The whole time I kept thinking this feels like Hannibal Lecter's scene, but I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
No. It's an actress, But yeah, but him and her is you're talking about Cate Blanchett and Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, because there's actually a scene where she says,
I didn't know which
tell
him
me
and
something.
her
You tell me something. I'll tell you something. Or
Yeah,
something.
like
And I kept thinking, if she says quid pro quo, I'll say, well done, Del Toro. Well done. But yeah, she didn't say that.
Yeah. So Laura Jean Chorostecki is in this. She played a character called Louise Hotley, who I'm not really sure I know what that character was. But she was, oh my gosh, I've already forgotten what her character is. She was Freddie Lounds in Hannibal.
Well, which role was she?
She was Louise Hotley was the name. I'm trying to figure out who
was that.
I know now. I'm trying to figure out who Louise Hotley was.
I have no idea who that was.
I know. We're gonna have to search that down now after the show.
Wish I know that, but yeah. But the thing is that whole scene where she's trying to get him to tell about his past felt very like, tell me about the lambs. It felt very much like
tell
that.
Me about the lambs, exactly.
And the whole time I'm like, ooh, I like this scene because it reminds me of Silence of the Lambs. I don't know if he did that intentionally. I know that Del Toro is a huge fan of movies, just like Edgar Wright or some of these other filmmakers. So, but man, now I don't know who she played.
She,
was she one of the carnies?
Must have been. We'll have to dig into it and see who it is. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. Christopher, you are up first.
Well, Nightmare Alley was not really up my alley.
Yeah, there you go.
When it comes to Del Toro films, and I'm a little bit disappointed. I'm not. Again, I don't hate it. I do love it. I do like it, but I don't love it as much as some of his other films. I think it has. I still champion that he hasn't made a bad film. I just think this film is not as up to snuff as some of his other films. And I think a lot of it probably came down to trying to work within the realm of a film noir while at the same time having actors that don't seem to connect as much as what you want. And I think also I just felt very disconnected from it. I felt very cold watching it, and the visuals and production design and even some of the actors in it can only get you so far if there's not a flow to everything between people and the story. So yeah, I'm slightly disappointed, but I think it's still, I love Del Toro trying something different, working within the film noir type thing. And it's got some beautiful shots. And I would love to see the black and white version of that. I'm sure visually that might be really cool and interesting to see certain things, but there's some really beautiful, gorgeous scenes in this. But then at the same time, maybe I'm biased because I kind of miss some of his fantasy stuff that he injects and stuff. So yeah, I usually give Del Toro films really high ratings, but this one I'm gonna, I will give it a 4 out of 5.
Oh wow, okay. Oh,
so I'll give it a higher rating than I would normally give. Other films, but I think there's some really great scenes in this. There's some really cool cinematography, and then there's some really cool pieces of dialogue and stuff. And it's just got such a great cast. Just the attention to detail in some of the scenes, whether it's the hotel or the courtyard or any of these scenes that take place, or even the carny environment that we don't see too many You don't see that anymore in films.
No, I sure don't.
And that time period. And also I love magic, so I love the behind the scenes stuff involving magic and mentalism, to where they make it seem like, oh, this is magic, but it's not as magic. There's a trick to it. As for favorite scene, I'll have to say when he's trying to find the geek guy and he has to go through the little help.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna do that. That was cool.
Which somebody mentioned looks a little bit similar to the mouth that in Candyman.
Ooh.
The big
Okay.
scary face where the person walks through it in Candyman. So I don't know if he did that on purpose, but I don't know, just the production design in that, especially the room with all the eyeballs and stuff, and even the one big eyeball moves. And I'm like, I thought it was very pretty, but then I was thinking, I'm not sure if they if it would have looked this nice back then. But that was kind of creepy. I mean, I wish that existed now, because I wish they had like an exhibit with all that stuff where you could walk through it, because I would totally do that. But yeah.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
But I think that's probably I don't know, for me visually, I just thought that was a really cool scene that I was like, I saw pictures of it and you saw snippets in the trailer, but just seeing the whole scene, I was like, ooh, this is cool.
Scene plays out really well. Yeah. This is a disappointing Del Toro film for me as well. Again, you recognize the talent, and I'll probably catch the movie again to give it a second chance, but it didn't. I think it just didn't register with me. I didn't relate to the characters. I didn't relate to the story. I didn't feel the urgency or the character's need to do what he's doing. I didn't. Yeah, it blew par for what Del Toro is capable of, which makes it a little, maybe amps up the disappointment. Cinematography, it should win an award for the cinematography alone, and the set designs and stuff like that. It really is, and the costuming. It's really, it does take you back there. I just wish I was a little more interested in the people that were there. Some of the supporting characters are a little bit more intriguing than our Bradley Cooper lead, so that's unfortunate. So I'm going to give this a 3, and that's because I'm bumping it up 25.25. And it's really just it's almost all technical, and but not this. I didn't like the story. Didn't care for the story. I cared like the elements of it, but not our lead. That's really bad. So I hate doing that. But my favorite scene. It's going to be not the first dialogue between Cate, Blanchett, and Bradley Cooper, but the very last one. I don't want to say what it is because I don't want to spoil the big fun, but the whole power of that, the bubble up of what's going on right there and then there, and the look on Bradley Cooper's face. It was just that was perfect. But yeah, I also saw it come.
Well, and I think that's a big thing where everything was pretty much there. Even what happened at the very beginning of the film, you kind of know what happened there, it's so but yeah. It almost makes me wonder if they cast someone other than Bradley Cooper in that main role, if it would have changed the movie overall. And I think it would have, because he's such a linchpin to everything. I think if you'd gotten another actor who played it a little bit differently, because I didn't really, I don't know. I think I didn't really see much of an arc, I guess.
No, I didn't see an arc. Yeah.
So
there is. Technically there is.
Technically there is, but I don't know. I just feel like I don't know, but it is what it is. I still think he does a good job. I just feel like if they'd gotten a better actor, there might have been more chemistry between the other actors, and it might have hit me a little bit more. Yeah. But for some reason, it didn't. I don't know. It was just there.
I agree with that, and I know I would say better suited because I think Bradley Cooper is a great actor, and I think he did a great job for what he could in this. But there's just something about, yeah, the chemistry between him and the other characters wasn't there. I don't think the Noir. I don't think, because there wasn't enough expression early on in his face. He slicked back his hair and got the little mustache at the halfway through, and it gave the illusion, which is a lot of what this movie is, of growth. But it needed more character. Needed more face, more classic Hollywood face.
Well, if he'd been more, it started very more him internalizing to him externalizing, and I think if there'd been more of a volume turned up on that, and I think maybe a different actor might have brought more to that, to where if you had that person who starts out kind of quiet or whatever, and then goes into full blast, because I think if you're going crazy with power, you need to show that more. And I think that maybe that's probably the missing Lego in this.
I think so. Because there are some great scenes with him and Toni Collette, I thought were really good, and Willem Dafoe. There's a very key scene where Willem Dafoe reveals how he does a certain thing with this one of the sideshow acts, and that was gripping. The way Willem Dafoe delivered all that, it was
which to me, if you pay attention to that, it feels like it informs the very last scene.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, here, have a drink.
It's a little heavy, but yeah. All right, there's our review for Nightmare Alley. It is okay, so it has a supernatural angle. And it has, some of the, because there are tarot cards that kind of bubble up, and there is a hint of a ghost story, but it's noir. It's not really horror, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't cover it and you shouldn't see it if you're a horror fan, because there are elements in here that I think
I will say
cinema goers will like. Period.
There are some deaths in this that make you gasp. And I think that's what I love about Del Toro, because when he makes violence happen, he doesn't make you go, "Oh, that's cool." That's like, "Oh God," because there's like a there's nose smash and arms getting flipped, and So I will say, he does not shy away from the violence. I think some of the violence in this is worse than Halloween Kills, because you feel the violence of it.
Yes. Definitely. All right. Well, Christopher, thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
Always fun. I mean, it's sad that we have to be a little bit down on Del Toro's film, but it's still good. So Go see it.
Very much. All right. Let's say good night.
Good night.